Back to E3. We're at the Twitch booth, and I am very lucky to be joined by Mr. Grant Bowler. If you guys are fans of Defiance, whether it be the game, whether it be the show, whether it just be the freaky monsters, you guys, it's really, really cool what Defiance has done here, because Defiance is a show on the Sci-Fi Network, and Defiance is a huge open-world, third-person shooter.
That's right. We're actually, if I'm not wrong, and I don't think I am, the first MMORG second-person shooter to launch across all three.
Yeah.
Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And I got to tell you, the boys and girls at Tryon had to work very, very hard to make that happen, because all of those kids don't always play well in the same sandbox.
Well, Grant, for people who might not be familiar with the series, can you explain who you are in both the game and the show?
I play a character called Joshua Nolan, and Nolan is the... Nolan wanders into Defiance at the very beginning of the show with his adoptive daughter, who's an alien. And we wander around in this world that is part Earth now, part something else. And the backstory of the show is basically aliens have come to Earth, as has happened before, but they came to emigrate. They didn't come to conquer. There's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of bad blood, and war breaks out. In the course of this war, which goes for years and years and years, the Earth is transformed, and it's no longer what we know, and it's not what they know. So everybody, the humans and the 7 races, the 7 Voton races, which are the alien races, are all stuck together now in this life raft, and it's nothing but wasteland. So we have 2 universes in Defiance. We have the game universe, which takes place in the former San Francisco area, the Bay Area, we call it. And then we have the show, which takes place in what used to be St. Louis, which is now called Defiance. And they're both little outposts, if you like, of civilization, where things are just getting going again. One of the reasons we keep the show and the game apart geographically is because we've attempted for the very first time real-time convergence between television and gaming. So we just tried a couple of things out there.
Well, there is a bit of that, because your character appears both in St. Louis in the show and in the Bay Area in the game. So can you tell us a little bit about, you have an adoptive alien daughter?
I do, yeah. Everybody needs one.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you used to have dogs in handbags. Now you just get a kid who's an alien. My character, when we talk about the game in the show, we actually, my daughter and I, Arissa, were actually entered the world of Defiance in the game 15 days before we entered the world of Defiance in the show. So gamers got their first look at those 2 characters when the game launched. And the reason why we had to stagger the launch of the game and the show is because we needed enough time, literally, for those 2 characters to drive from the Bay Area to San Francisco.
That is some planning that went into that.
That's 5 years of development and a lot of work. But yeah, in terms of my baby girl, she's not your average teenager. She's like a deadly alien ninja assassin in the body of a really gorgeous 18-year-old, very, very grumpy, surly teenager. Being a dad isn't very easy at all. It's a tough job.
Well, especially when you got these weird creatures wandering around. There's a bunch of alien enemies, and I mean, they're really represented here in the game. I think in the show they're brilliant. They did a whole face-off episode based on the special effects that went into it, and a lot of care went into developing these monsters, and now it's really, really cool to see how they interact in this competitive environment.
It's great seeing the Votan, you know, on screen here, the Volge army. Now, when we were coming up with the Volge for the show, we had to figure out how we were going to execute them on film. I don't mean execute them as in bang, 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 but I mean actually make them happen. So we then have to go back to the Tryon guys and go, okay, does that work for you? Now, sometimes the Tryon guys have come up with these amazing environmental or creature effects that make us sit back and go, oh my God. For instance, Razor Rain and these critters, the Volge. Now, that's fantastic to do in a game because you can render it all. But then when they come to us and they go, we've got this great idea, Razor Rain, it falls from the sky, it's giant chunks of metal, and it explodes like hand grenades all over the Earth. We sit there as a television outfit and go, oh, good. The great thing is they continuously challenge us to go one step further and figure out how to make that happen. And then on our side of it, where, yeah, we spent, so much time developing the makeup and the prosthetics and the looks of all of these aliens, that we can then go across to them at Tryon and go, oh, this is what a Castathan looks like. Or these are races, by the way. My favorite race is the Sensoth. They're about 7.5 foot tall. They have a monkey's face. They are big. They are really, really tough, but they're really slow, and they never get the job done on time. So we've made them the mechanics and like the guys who work on the roads of Defiance, because there's no rush. You can get it done later.
Well, as a gamer, I mean, we were just talking about your gaming history. You have a long and storied history. You're a big fan of video games. So what was it like? I mean, do you enjoy this game?
I love it. I mean, it's a special treat for me because I've been in conversations about, what does this weapon look like? I was upstairs with the Tryon guys in the Defiance room before, and I was using a charge blade. Now, the charge blades, I didn't play in the early stages of the game, but I remember when Tony Curran, who plays our nasty character, brought out a charge blade in the show over a year ago, a year before the game launched, and a part of it is blue flame, so we couldn't do that on the show. That has to be a visual effect. And Tony was waving this thing around, this hilt. And I said, geez, mate, that better look good when the time actually comes for the show to air. And he went, oh, yeah, I didn't know if it will, because he's Scottish.
Excellent.
And the wonderful thing is you see it executed in visual effect in the show. And then, today I'm running around with the weapons myself. There's some old friends there in the weapons that I've been using on the show for a long, long time, and I have my personal faves. But it's wonderful. It's like my world. And when I get homesick for the show, I go play the game.
Well, you get to play San Francisco. They made such an incredible open world thing here. So how does the story kind of take you through this world, or is it really just entirely up to your character to venture?
Are we talking about in the game?
Yes, yes.
What happens as a player when you enter the game is you're given basically missions. So you're going to go through a tutorial set of missions that are going to allow you, we're all going to learn our keyboard or our console controller, get you into the flow, teach you, how to, all the basics of a second-person shooter, like how do I reload, where are the grenades, I need them urgently, how do I get on and off my Uber vehicle, how do I get into my backpack or my inventory, whichever, form it takes, and how do I get in contact with other players. So the first few stages of the game are that, very much. And then you're going to have, once you start moving out into the world, what we're seeing in the screen now, which is events. And you can, you've got your map, your navigation screen. You can head towards the events. They're cooperative, so you're going to be working with other players in order to, execute whatever you need to. For instance, my favorite right now, because I started playing it today, is the Volge. I mean, and I think there's 7 or 8 stages in each of those Volge incursions, and you work your way through with other players. I love the revive thing, by the way. I'm a little bit of a, I'm an actor at heart. I like to work in small groups. So whenever I see anyone go down, I have to revive them. It doesn't matter if, I got to go revive them. So if you see some person inappropriately reviving you on the battlefield in an unsafe situation, it's probably me. I'm addicted to it.
I understand entirely. I played Battlefield 2 medic, and I'd be like, yo, man down in the middle of the...
Yeah, and you'll basically walk into it like a machine gun nest to revive somebody. It's very stupid gameplay, but I don't know.
It's altruism, and
I can't stand to see another player suffer. I really can't.
Well, what is this? You were talking about an event here that kind of all the players gravitate to, and it happens in the game. What is exactly happening? I see stuff falling
this is
from
a
the
hellbug
sky.
situation. So hellbugs start off as skittlings. We actually had them on the show.
Yeah,
there was a hellbug matriarch, and then we had the skittlings. So immediately after the show, these incursions, when they aired on the television show, these incursions started in the game. It's one of the points of convergence. So you've got your little ones there, your Hellions and your skittlings, and they go up in terms of how dangerous they are. The smaller ones you can tackle yourself, but once you get up to this stage, where you've got the Monarch at play, and she's just tossing out bad guys everywhere, you really have to work in teams, and you're going to want as many players around as you can, because you've got to get it down in a certain period of time. And you need an enormous amount of firepower. Like any good MMORPG, the dynamics of the game are constructed so that you do far, far better if you work together. And it's a very social game.
So how many players are playing this game? You would think that a game tied to a TV show, when they come out with movies, they tend to be a little cheesy, but this has really taken off.
I think we got 1 million
million?
Yeah, which is pretty good. So, that'll do. You can get on board with a couple of other people and fight some stuff. So I think we're at 1 million subscribers so far. And like I say, we've just started rolling out. I think this week has been another rollout. There was a plague, a nanite plague, plague of nanites that now will invade your body and take you over. So a nanite plague hit Defiance in last week's episode. And right around the world of the game at the moment, the nanite plague has taken off, and it's gotten really
So you
gnarly.
better be watching the show if you're going to play seriously.
Well, you can. A big focus of how we developed both was you can watch the show and need never play the game, and you can play the game and need never watch the show. If you do both, what we've tried to accomplish, and I think both companies have done very, very well together, is we've added a third-party experience, an experience you've never had before. Whereas a gamer, you can literally play up to the moment Defiance is about to air. You can log off, safe up, log off, turn your input around to the show. The show starts immediately, same world, same tech, same mythology, same history, same everything. The show will take place, and either something that you've been doing in the game will enter the show and affect an outcome, as a group. Or at the very end of that show, when you log back onto the game, the results of whatever's been occurring in the show will start to seed into the game and create the next event.
So this is some serious immersion. Is there going to be any sort of mobile inclusion?
In what sense?
Like I can sit there and I'm watching the show and I see the thing in the game and I take a picture or there seems to be a couple opportunities that they've created to do things outside the game that pay off inside the game.
Absolutely. I mean, some of those we'll probably do as a second screen experience. One thing that I always like to see in terms of games is what I want to do is we have this bar. It's a lot more than a bar. There's a lot of naughty stuff goes on there, but called the need want, whatever you need, whatever you want. And I want to start seeing players get seeded into the need want. So if we've got players who are doing particularly well in the game universe, I want to see them sitting at the bar. Because let's face it, if they're ARC hunters and they're doing really well, they're going to be wandering around the country, and there's no reason why they shouldn't start showing up at the need want. People's names will start to come up. So if you're playing, don't come up with those names that you can't put on a television show. I know so many of them from World of Warcraft and EVE and EverQuest and all of those. Some of those names you look at and you go, really, that got passed? But if you come up with something that can actually go on a screen, I'd like to see their names start coming up in conversation. When you're talking about taking photos, there's no reason why a great screenshot from the game can't be retranslated into the show. If you're at a particular event and you do really, really well, there's no reason we literally can't be walking down a hallway and see a photo of you on a wall. And those are tiny, tiny things. I mean, what we're doing at the moment is, complete nationwide environmental effects. So those more mobile, more immediate ones, they're a gimme. I mean, with the stuff we're taking on right now, bringing a Hellbug matriarch across from the game into the show, doing things on a player level is really, really simple.
Well, it sounds incredible.
The one thing you do want to do, though, is you want to keep that buffer. You do want to keep a little bit of a time buffer. Because I have experienced before where you have a game and you go, okay, now all the gamers are going to run the show. And what you get is two people banging each other over the head for an hour. So what we try and do is we create a buffer and we make it actually the result of the gamer's work, of the guys playing Defiance. Your work in the game will create outcomes. So you actually have to toil and, if you like, craft up to create those outcomes on the show.
That is a payoff that is unprecedented in gaming right now. That's really exciting that you guys are going that direction.
Yeah.
Grant, thank you so much for the insight into Defiance. I hope you guys check out the show. Please check out the game. There's a lot going on. We're going to be wrapping up soon here at E3, but we'll be back tomorrow. Stay tuned. We got a little bit more tonight.